are ready for democracy, whether people understand democracy after years and decades of non-democracy or never been in democratic system. How do you foresee these challenges being overcome?
Okay, thank you.
So far in this discussion, especially very emphasis on the authoritarian nature of states and that people are very angry at dictatorial regimes and state security repression, which is obviously a pivotal factor. But what other factors come into play, like how important is rising unemployment, current unemployment, and the increase in the number of youth increasingly young nation, and any other sort of geopolitical dimensions at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one comment and one question. I just want to confirm that probably we need to globalize the revolution, to globalize the intifada. My question to Libya, do you think that Gaddafi tribe, maybe the bigger family, would have a position and say, we are against you and we want to save Libya? Do you think this would happen?
Okay.
Yeah, my question is about, I think it's really patronizing to, after what happened in Tahrir Square, to be saying that are people ready for democracy. But besides that, what I wanted to ask was that, people are demanding democracy. So what do we learn from the processes that, what we have seen around, so that it is actually a real form of democracy that we see coming? Like, I come from India, where we have yes, we are the largest democracy in the world, but there are unbelievable instances of state violence which go on. And one interesting thing that we see here is that people coming out in millions in the streets and protesting is, and being successful has only happened in autocratic regimes. Like, people come out in millions in India and are protesting all the time, nobody is hearing them. So this kind of thing that now that we have I'm saying we, but now that, these regimes have been, what we saw in Egypt and Tunisia, what are the new processes that, you can develop that it is actually a real democracy and not the farcical democracies that we see around the world?
Well, I think in combination with that question that you said was patronizing, I think it was a bit in patronizing form perhaps, but the essence is not bad. That you ask the question, if what we're aiming for is a total makeover of this and that, we also should question what do we mean actually by this rotating system in which we're always governed by the party of business, but in different fractions, So in that sense, our system has an enormous resilience, because as the guy in Denmark, in Ireland said after the last elections, that this was a real people's revolution. The people didn't go out into the street, but they went to the ballot box, and I thought, look here, that's how they want it, never mind 35% turnout. Can we have the panelists perhaps to reply to several of these important questions, and then we'll take yours later, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan, for the question. It's very important. This anti-imperial stance of the Iranian regime has been its master narrative and the most important instrument of its survival internally through a series of crises since the very first day of the revolution. And it's not kind of a myth or fabricated. There is a real history of American Western intervention from 1953 coup to the Shah's support for the Shah, to the ongoing sanctions for more than 30 years. Iran is still under sanctions from the United States. So there is real substance to this idea of Iran standing up to the Western designs. But it has been also used to suppress any voice of dissent within Iran by attributing or linking them to the foreign powers, especially United States. So, and in recent events, especially during this Green Movement, a basic trope has always been to link somehow members of this Green Movement to foreign powers. Since various TV and radio channels being broadcasting for Iran from Britain and America, anybody who appears there is immediately labeled as in the pay of the CIA or MI6 or whatever. So yes, it's been very important, and it's been also a challenge for the opposition to somehow retain their independence, oppose the regime, but not being kind of linked to the outside powers. But I think they have done it relatively successfully, so far at least. In terms of how to, have democracy institutionalized, well, I'm not sure about people can talk about other countries, but in Iran we did have a democratic system. And that was overthrown by an Anglo-American coup in 1953 because of oil nationalization. So the most vibrant, rich period of Iranian modern political history was precisely 1945 when Iran was invaded during the Second World War. The Shah was removed, or at least had only ceremonial power, up to 53. That 10 years, it remains the richest part of Iranian history. And that memory goes on still. Everything in modern Iranian imaginary is about that sense of independence and democracy which people had at the time. And that's why America occupies the so-called Great Satan in Iran, majority of Iranian people's mind because of that coup. So I would say actually they are all ready for it, and they have been simply deprived from it. And in any case, we have to leave it to them to see how they have to experiment and see what they can do given the circumstances. What was the other question? In terms of, Susie, economic hardship, geopolitical dimension. Yes, indeed. I mean, I think while no revolution can be predicted by anybody, and the self-immolation of this young man who triggered the whole thing is a symbolic moment. Nonetheless, you could actually link it somehow to essentially to the global crisis we have, and the fact that the economies of these countries are, especially Egypt and Tunisia, is closely linked to the European economy, where it was in the crisis, tourism was going down, food prices going up, all sorts of pressures are on the people, and so they play an important role. Geopolitically, of course, the whole business of Iraq war, Afghanistan war, the standoff with Iran, the so-called peace process, which is getting nowhere and is simply just completely destroying the fabric of Palestinian life. These are obviously have cumulative impact, and they have had it. And once the crack is created, then they're all out for it. And I think that's what's partly happening in this region.
Can I just add a comment to that, just to supplement you?
Yeah.
According to World Watch Institute study, the societies which have youth bulge, a large population of young adults, are 2.5 times more likely to armed civil conflicts, and Middle East is going through a huge youth bulge.
Well, that's correct, but they might do so because there is unemployment.
Yeah,
there are millions of
it's
people.
lack of economic opportunities because of the larger youthful demography.
Yeah,
so
but this is not entirely an internal problem to these countries. If you think about global economy as a whole, so these are kind of expressions of that. The system in which you have this highly kind of inequitable distribution of wealth and power and unemployment of that kind.
Yeah. Egypt is the largest importer of food in the world.
Yes.
So any rise in food prices will immediately reflect on how people who are already struggling to get by will survive. Any other of the issues?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just going to very briefly address your point on rising food prices. On the 5th of January, the price of bread went up by 21%, and further other staple food goods went up drastically in the couple of weeks leading up to the 25th of January. Whether that's directly relevant or not, I don't know, but it is something to mention. I'm going to talk about, are people ready for democracy? Do they understand democracy?
Do you guys or don't need the mic? Okay. Are people ready for democracy? Do they understand democracy? I mean, I start by asking, what does real democracy look like? I mean, I'm looking all around me at the moment, and I can't find the perfect example of democracy. I mean, over here, for students in particular that voted Lib Dem, most of us are shooting ourselves in the foot. It is, a trial and error process. And then again, if the American people can go ahead, and vote in the Bushes of the world, the war waging, life devastating, 1.2 million people have died over the course of the past 10 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, then I'm sorry, no matter, there's this notion that Omar Suleiman, our vice president, seemed to be trying to promote, that the Egyptian people were too stupid or too idiotic to yet have a democracy, that they're going to vote the wrong people in. I'm sorry, but, it's a trial and error process. If they are going to vote in some terrorist fundamentalist movement, then it's their country, and let they go and democratically vote them in, get shot again in the foot, and then not vote them in again. And it's their country. Let them take it into their hands. If the Americans can vote someone in, if we can vote Cameron in, who is now possibly going to wage a third war, then the Arab people, whether Libyan, Egyptian, Tunisian, or Saudi, can vote in whoever the fuck they see fit.
Maybe you can speak of the same angles, but sometimes this is a passion when you get involved in these topics, because we've been so oppressed of not being able to talk in our countries. We've been able to talk here, but not in this country. Not in our countries. Just the fact about democracy. People even, if I talk about Libya, I'm sure it's the same as Egypt, and it's a small village, believe it or not. Egypt is 8 million, Libya is 6 million, Tunisia is about 11, 12 million. But we share the same problems. What people are fighting for now, it's not democracy. It's being able to express themselves as freedom. In Libya now, people calling themselves freedom fighters. And we are writing history. It's not about, 42 years, 30 years for Egypt, 23 years in Tunisia. There's going to be a big, massive gap after these revolutions. 42 years, 30 years, 23 years of no system, of just one regime, one show, and controlling everything. So people are going to find problems in Egypt. It's going to be a long process for them to get back to normal. Tunisia is the same thing. It's taken them day after day to establish new things. But Libya is going to be even worse, because there's no infrastructure whatsoever. So what the people what they are asking for now, right now, is just freedom. And then we can think about democracy and think about rebuilding the whole country again. Now what we're seeing from the regime itself, he's bombing all the oil refineries. To the extent that people said, bomb, take the oil with you. Just give us our dignity back. And that's what we're asking for. Take everything. Let the West take everything they want. The oil, have it. We don't want it. We can countries have been living without oil. We can live without the oil. But the problem when you as a Libyan or as a Middle Eastern, when all you can hear about is the West interest or the foreigners' interest in the country. We're talking about humans here. We're not talking about oil. We're not talking about materialism. We're just talking about dignity and people wanting to live and have a free society and being able to express themselves. So what people are asking for is not democracy. For that question of democracy, we would love it, but we've never seen it. Even here, I'm sorry, but I've lived in this country and I know we don't have democracy. Democracy is something in my imagination for me till now. Maybe you have different opinion, but for me, I've not seen democracy anywhere in the world. Because we live in dictatorship, but obviously in different levels. So that's just a question of democracy or freedom. I think for the Middle East now, people are asking for freedom. They want to re-establish redefine maybe the word democracy. For one of the questions about Gaddafi's family, just a quick thing about Libya. This is a very tribal society. And the problem is that in Libya, it's not about being with Gaddafi or you from his family or you're not from his family. It's the issue of survival. You've seen the soldiers who defected and they said, I'm not willing to